Alright, so this over here is my RCF micro mini bike kit that I bought, and basically working on kind of mocking everything up. So this was a frame kit that I got. Obviously it didn't come painted or anything like that. It was just a bare metal frame, and essentially you could buy on their website, you could go check it out. You could buy just the frame itself, and then you kind of source all the other parts for it, or you can buy the frame kit. And the frame kit essentially comes with the frame, as you see videoed here. You get the tires front and back, you get the axle bolts, you get the sprocket. I opted to get their bubble end tank, so it's a nice little aluminum tank, and it has an actual like O-ringed gas cap, so it's actually really well made. It's got a built-in vent in it. Really like this piece. I was debating on powder coating it or not, or leaving it kind of the polished aluminum look. And then it has the fitting at the bottom to connect to the engine. And also in the kit I got the seat. You could choose different color options. I just went with the black because I kind of knew I was going to do a bright kind of green theme to this bike, so I figured black and green be a good color combo. Also in the kit I got the throttle cable, twist throttle cable. It comes with some of the parts down here. New wheel bearings. I didn't put these in, I just left the regular wheel bearings. I feel like if one of them were to fail, then maybe I'll go ahead and change them out. And then you also get the bolt for the front fork assembly. So the other parts I got here, obviously the brake assembly kit. We got the 79cc Predator motor from Harbor Freight. That's actually designed to work with this frame kit, so the sizes, the motor mount plate and everything are fit up, so this is the actual motor that's designed for this kit. And then some of the other parts I had to pick up was the exhaust. So the factory exhaust that comes with the Predator engine. This big clunky thing doesn't fit anymore, nor does the gas tank, because you basically have to remove everything off the top of the engine to make it fit. And then also with the brake assembly, you get this nice chain guard painted to match the bike, so that will go on the side there. That'll be pretty cool. And I also welded on a tab for the kickstand, so that doesn't come with the bike, so this will be put on like that, so you could kind of prop the bike up and not have to lean it on the pegs. Figured that'd be a little cleaner of a look. Also had to get a set of foot pegs, and mind you, the tubing is made out of 7/8 tubing, so all the, I guess, go-kart mini bike frame stuff built for 7/8 will work. So like your twist grips, foot pegs, stuff like that, so everything would be 7/8. And yeah, that's kind of just like the highlights of the kit quick. In the description below, I'm going to leave links to all the parts I had to buy, so you can kind of just go ahead and put this kit together if you want to build it exactly like my bike here. That's probably the most amount of work I had to do, was just like sourcing all the extra parts and kind of get a couple steps ahead and realize, oh, I need these bolts or these nuts or these fittings or this or that. So I'm going to do all that legwork for you, and you could basically just go to the description, look at all the links of everything I have, go ahead and order everything, and you'd have a whole mini bike kit pretty much ready to go. And we're going to go ahead and just kind of start assembly on the bike here. I did have some clips before I got the wheels on and stuff, but I don't know what happened. Something happened with the video camera, but I mean, that's pretty simple here. We basically just fit up the wheels. They come deflated and the rims aren't put together yet, but I mean, that's pretty straightforward how to do that. Putting the axles together, there's little spacers cut out of tubing, so those you just kind of center the wheels up. For some reason, the hub kits, so this would be like the hub, right? They didn't come with the nuts, so he just gave me the hub itself, but it didn't have the hardware. So these are actually 3/8 24 nuts, fine thread. So you're gonna need 4, 8. You're gonna need 12 of those. I didn't buy enough, so that's why I just have 2 sitting on the sprocket right now. I just have to get 2 more to finish that out. But I thought that was kind of weird. They didn't provide you. They provide you with the hubs, but not the nuts for them. I don't know if they just got left out of the package or what happened with that. So we got those fitted up, the axle bolts. I just use a 15/16 wrench and socket, snug those up. So those are on there. The fork, bolt, and nut here, this is really, really close to the tire. So I might end up having to either take the bolt back out and cut it, or now that it's assembled, I might just have to hit this with my grinder and cut it off. So that's just something I'm kind of noticing as I get this stuff fit up. And the tank, I just got this on loose here now. We'll tighten the hardware up. This came with all the hardware. You get the brackets, the hose clamps, the hardware here. I just had to drill this bracket out because it wasn't properly drilled with the right size bolts. So I just hit that with the drill, quick, drilled that out. And then also the fitting for the tank it doesn't come with. So this one right here, this is a 90-degree quarter NPT, or MPT for male pipe thread that goes into the tank, and that's a 3/16 hose barb that comes out. So that will go to the carburetor on the 79cc Predator. And while we're under here, we'll just go ahead and get this tank fitted up. Easy enough. This here is the Predator 79cc from Harbor Freight. So I just got this right out of the box. I think it was 130 bucks. So, you know, not too bad for obviously a brand new engine. So you just have to take the tank off and the exhaust. So basically the frame is going to barely be kissing almost right up against the top of this thing, even with the stuff removed. So it's a very tight fit. And only thing I did ahead of time was I already did the governor delete on it. So it's pretty simple. There's plenty of videos on YouTube how to do that. And I opted to just drill, well, not drill, but tap this hole out 1/4 and then just put a bolt in and put a little high temp RTV with it to seal it up. And obviously you have to have the crankcase cover off and go in and pull the guts of the governor out. I think I have, yeah, the stuff just in here. It just has a regular centrifugal flyweight loaded governor that would pull back on the throttle arm when you, I guess, exceed whatever the rated RPM is for these things. I don't know really too much about these engines, but probably something we're going to dive into as we progress with this little project. Knowing myself and obviously the cars I have here in the garage, thing is probably not going to stay stock for too long, but we'll leave alone as it is, at least to try the bike out, and then we'll go ahead and probably build this motor up and do some more performance add-ons with it. And when we get this thing fit up, I'll show you, we're going to have to finish modifying this throttle linkage here. So I'll spin this thing around. You'll see this bracket that bolts onto the starter cover here, full start cover, and it has a little jam nut and a cable holder that would go basically to this and be able to cycle it back and forth. But the way this throttle's set up, it kind of sucks for doing like a throttle cable, because this kind of moves opposite the direction of the throttle cable. So you have to essentially put in, I don't know where my piece is, but I had to custom make a linkage arm to connect from the throttle blade in the carburetor to this linkage here we're going to use for increasing and decreasing the speed. If you left the governor alone, you'd be able to just put this on, you drill a hole in here, connect it with a cable thimble, lock it in, and then you're pretty much good to go, because this linkage is all extended here and it comes off the little pivot arm that's attached with the governor. But because we deleted the governor, now we got to modify the throttle linkage. I'm going to get this fit up in the bike and then finish the assembly on this, because I got to figure out where the throttle cable is going to run, wrap around, and all that stuff. But just wanted to kind of point out what we had to prep to get this ready for install on this little bike here. Which it's not too bad. I mean, it's simple nuts and bolts. Just remove the tank, the exhaust, disconnect the linkage here. If you want, do the governor mod now. If not, leave your linkage connected and it's just going to work off the governor, which is fine. I wouldn't recommend just deleting the linkage off the governor, because that still leaves the whole flyweight assembly and everything in there. If you're going to rev this thing out higher than the governor, I wouldn't overspin the governor components that are in there. Like, definitely go in and remove it, and that should prevent anything from coming apart inside the engine. The next thing we got to assemble here is the exhaust, because that factory doesn't fit. And I got this little kit right here, but unfortunately this doesn't quite fit up as planned. So the issue here is you got a half MPT fitting welding on, and that's supposed to just fit with this little muffler, and then it's going to go and kind of hang down at like a 45. But the issue is this muffler piece here. If you look at the threads here, that is not MPT. This is like squared off, almost looks like something like an Acme thread. And so if you try and thread this piece into here, it basically goes in like half a turn and then just locks up. Normal MPT with a standard pipe taper on it, let's see if we can get this to focus, has V-cut threads, 60-degree angle, come to a point like that, and actually thread right in this fitting, and you can get probably 4 or 5 turns in before the taper starts binding up and it gets tight, and that's generally how pipe threads seal. So you'll see that goes in all the way, and then you take a pipe wrench and snug that up. But this was not cut or machined or whatever properly, so it doesn't fit. So of course, another problem with these kind of cheap parts you deal with. This little set here I think was like 35 bucks, so it's kind of disappointing to spend $35 and like A doesn't thread into B. I think they'd have that figured out by now. The other issue with this is the way this is just kind of stuck in and socket welded there. So you have that tubing that's going to create a pretty large restriction. So what I generally size up with the exhaust ports is, if you put the gasket on, this little graphite gasket, you see the port on the exhaust of the cylinder head is the same size as the gasket. Now if you carry this over here and line it up with the hole, you see all the metal that's exposed there, so that's all going to be a restriction that the exhaust gas flows hits and then has to get choked down into the small tube here. So what I'm going to take is my die grinder with a deburring bit, and I'm going to kind of just smooth this transition out and kind of roll this edge, grind away at this tubing that's in here, and trying to make this a little more of a smoother transition so we don't create a restriction in the exhaust there. So we'll get that cleaned up, and then I'm also going to put a 45 elbow on, and then a 1/2 inch MPT nipple. It's a closed nipple, and that will basically allow the exhaust to come down at a 45 and then come straight back. So I think it's just going to be a cleaner look than the pipe just coming at like a 45 straight down across the bike. So it'll come down, come back out. And I also have, I think it's in the back there, some exhaust wrap, black wrap with the steel metal ties, so that will get wrapped and it'll look super clean. And also won't have to worry if you slide your leg back, you're wearing shorts or something, and you bump your leg on the exhaust pipe, you won't get burnt. Show you guys the throttle linkage set that we had to make up. So like I was showing before, because we did the governor delete and we no longer have the linkage connection for the governor, this bracket bolts on to the cover here, and then you basically have to drill a hole in this tab here, put the return spring, and then this piece of linkage I actually made up with a little piece of Monel filler rod that goes back to the carburetor, so it basically just pivots like that. I'm gonna have to come up with something a little better. It does go from 0 to full throttle and spring back, so that's okay there, but I would like to just make this probably with something a little stiffer and kind of fix that. But for testing purposes now, I think this will be totally fine, and it works. It kind of springs back pretty good, so we should be okay with that. I just want to show you guys that kind of setup. Well, everything's pretty much wrapped up here on the bike. Got everything together. Throttle linkage assembly. Wheels are on, seats on, gas tank fitting down there. I zip tied the cables up so those won't be rattling around. And I think the last thing that we got to do is put some oil in it. Got this Briggs & Stratton racing oil. This is actually an AMSOIL product. Since I have a independent AMSOIL dealership, I figure I'm going to run a good synthetic lubricant in here, and figure this is perfect for small little Predator engines. So this should be a pretty good product here. This is the color paint I went with too, in case you're curious about doing your bike maybe the same or similar color. So this is the metal primer, and then this is a Krylon gloss jungle green, and then I finished it off with this basically gloss clear coat for the top. So it took 1 can of the primer, 2 of the color, and then I used probably 3/4 of the can of clear to get this finish on it. We got the bike spun around the other way just so you could see the other side finished up. So we ended up finishing up with the exhaust. You saw the little time-lapse video of that. So that's just that standard muffler pipe nipple, close nipple, 45° into there. Did the heat wrap on it, and then we got the chain tensioner in. This didn't really fit up very well. I think I undercut the chain length a little bit, so I'm probably going to have to either get a new length chain to lengthen this up, or just get an additional master link and then add some links back into here, because I'd like to bring this roller up and have this chain riding more parallel here, because it is kind of touching into the little mount bolt for the tensioner here, and I think this roller should be brought up. It'll just kind of allow the chain tension and everything to run a little smoother. And then we got the cover on here with the little South Florida Gearheads logo. That looks pretty sweet. Really like the color theme of this bike. I think it came out really nice. That color was a good choice, that Krylon color. And we got the clutch band brake assembly set up and kind of set. I might have to make some adjustments to that, but we left enough cable there, so if I need to loosen it or tighten it, we're okay there. And it works pretty good. I tried locking the rear wheel up with it. Seems okay. It's rubbing a little bit on the front shoe assembly, but I think as the bike drives, it'll kind of wear in and get itself seated. So that